Let's look at variables and assignments in MATLAB. In MATLAB, you can simply use a variable. You don't have to declare the variable first. One way of using a variable is to use it in an assignment statement. And the general form of an assignment statement in MATLAB is you have the name of the variable on the left, the assignment operator is the single equal sign, and then you have the expression on the right. So the way it always works is that you're taking the value of the expression and assigning it to the variable that you have on the left. And the way we would read this out loud is the variable gets the value of the expression. So here's an example. At the prompt in the command window, we might type in an assignment statement such as num gets the value of 33. So if I enter that at the prompt, if I type in num gets the value of 33 and then I hit the enter key, MATLAB will then respond with showing me the value of the variable num, showing me that it's 33, and then giving a new prompt so that I can then type another command. So once I do that, I would then see that variable num and its value 33 in the workspace window to the right of the command window. Now in MATLAB, at the command prompt, if I just type in an expression and I don't put it in a variable, so just an expression but not an assignment statement, MATLAB is going to store it in a default variable called ants. So every time you type in just an expression in MATLAB, the result gets stored in the variable ants. So the variable ants gets reused over and over. It is a variable, it will show up in the workspace window, but in terms of programming style, it's not a good idea to use ants in expressions. So if you want to save the result of an expression, you should actually store it in a variable that you name rather than using the default variable ants. Now, putting a semicolon at the end of an assignment statement in MATLAB does a very particular thing. What it does is it suppresses the output. So at the prompt, for example, if I type in the assignment statement, number gets the value of 5 minus 4. So first of all, it's going to evaluate the expression 5 minus 4 to get 1 and store the result in the variable number. But because I have the semicolon here at the end, MATLAB doesn't come back in here and show me that number is equal to 1. It just gives me another prompt. So it does actually store the 1 in the variable number. It just doesn't show that. But you would see the variable number and its value of 1 in the workspace window. Of course, a variable can be changed, so you can initialize a variable in MATLAB and then you can change the value by incrementing it or decrementing it, for example. So here's a sequence where at the prompt I've initialized a variable num to have the value 33. Then I incremented it by saying num gets the value of num plus 2, so 33 plus 2 is 35, and since I did not suppress the output here, MATLAB shows me that num has the value 35. And then I could take that current value of num, 35 minus 10, and store the result 25 in the variable num. And again, if I don't suppress the output here, MATLAB is going to come back and show me what the value of the variable is. So if you do suppress the output, it stores the value, it just doesn't show it to you. There are some rules about naming variables in MATLAB. First of all, it has to start with the letter of the alphabet. Then after that, you can have letters of the alphabet, you can have digits, you can have the underscore character, but you can't have things like spaces. There is a limit to the length of a variable name, but it's such a large limit that it's not really a very practical limit. And there are some keywords in MATLAB, some words that you cannot use as variable names. One thing that is important is that MATLAB is case sensitive, meaning there's a difference between upper and lowercase letters. So names, num, all lowercase, num with a capital N, num all uppercase, those are all different variable names. Of course, if you use those 3 different variable names together in a set of code, that would be really confusing. So it's not a good idea at all. There are some commands that show you values of variables and do things like get rid of variables. So first of all, there's the command who that shows the variables that have been defined in the command window. So this just gives you a list of the variables. who's is going to give you a little bit more information, more like the information that you see in the workspace window. So it shows the variables and their values and how much space is used to store them and so forth. The clear command will get rid of variables. So if you just say clear, that gets rid of all of the variables that you've created. So you would see nothing in the workspace window. Or you can clear a particular variable by giving the variable name, or a whole list of variables by giving variable name 1, 2, 3, etc. So you separate all of those variable names with spaces. MATLAB doesn't exactly have constants, but what it has is functions that return constant values. So really you can just think of them as being constants. So for example, it has this built-in constant pi. It also has both I and j as the square root of -1. INF is a built-in constant for infinity. And NaN is a built-in constant mathematicians use a lot. It stands for not a number. It's what you get, for example, if you try to divide 0 by 0. One thing MATLAB does not do is it does not allow you to define your own constants.